Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to call our regular council meeting to order. Recommendation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of June 13th, 2022 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Renhowa, seconded by Councillor Ady. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3A, recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of May 30th, 2022 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Niche, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3B, recommendation that the minutes of the public hearing of May 30th, 2022 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Renhowa, seconded by Councillor Ady. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3C, recommendation that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of May 30th, 2022 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And item 3D, recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting of May 30th, 2022 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, first up, we have a long-awaited presentation from our new officer in charge, Sergeant Gerald Walker. You can come forward and introduce yourself, and welcome to Prince Rupert.
Excellent. All right. My name is Jerry Walker. Been here for 5 weeks now, so I'm a sergeant at the time, working on my paperwork to move into the inspector ranks here. We got here May 2nd, came from Lake Louise, Alberta, where I ran the detachment there. My wife, who's also an RCMP member, and 2 children. We got our house May 2nd, moved in, kids are settled into school. We are settled into our jobs, and I am learning the differences between British Columbia and Alberta. So we have not only come to a different town, but also a different province. So trying to just get a handle on that stuff right now. To be honest, the detachment, really good group. We're actually full right now. So every position is filled at the moment. Obviously with attrition, the yearly attrition, that can go up and down, but we're in a pretty good spot right now. We did purchase a house here, like you say, so we're moved in there, looking to. I've told many, and maybe seen in the paper there. It's kind of a bit of a homecoming. The family, my grandparents lived here. My mom graduated high school here. I came here growing up plenty of times, so it's pretty neat to come back this way. Always loved Prince Rupert. I left Prince George 15 years ago with the offer of coming to Prince Rupert. I went up to the Yukon instead, saying that I'll come to Prince Rupert to come back to BC, and 15 years from there, here we are. So
You wouldn't happen to be related to Dave Walker, would you?
no, it's not Walker's. Actually, Morehouse is the
Okay.
family name. Morehouse is yeah.
Just checking.
Working on it. There we go. Okay. So yeah, right now getting to learn everything, trying to get out to this meeting tomorrow night, go to Port Edward, to some of the communities, getting to meet the partners in town, and really get a feel for what we're doing at the detachment, things we're doing well, things we can improve on, and not looking to change anything for the sake of change, but get to really know what we're doing, how we can give our best service to Prince Rupert. You said definitely there is a bit of a steep learning curve coming from a different province. The nice thing is a lot of the people that were here when I left here 15 years ago are now high up in management in the district and that sort of stuff too, so I still have lots of connections and know the people that call to ask those questions when I don't have the answer. So that definitely helps. So far, like I say, I've been trying to get out and meet different partners, stakeholders, etc. Been working on the new detachment floor plan build. So I've been on that since just before I even came here. So we're getting further with that, and then also looking at the annual performance plan. So timing on me getting here is a little late, as our annual performance plan runs from April to April with our fiscal year. So it's looking at what was in place when I got here, how we can tweak that a little bit, and then looking forward to next year, how we really get into involving the community more in that, establishing those priorities, getting that feedback, whether that be through, and probably through surveys, community meetings, stakeholders, etc., and having a lot more involvement in that, and yourselves included. So this year, the priorities that were set, there's a few, because obviously there's the coastal side of stuff also, but is increasing community awareness through media was one of the main priorities they had set. So that's not only involved in TV, print media, but we're going to look at the social media platforms. There's Facebook, but there's others that I don't know about, and I'll tap on the younger generation to, so we are reaching towards more of a crowd, as opposed to just people the older age that are using Facebook, I guess is the way to say it. And then the big one is the crime reduction initiatives. Through what they established there was foot patrols, licensed establishment checks, check stops, and curfew checks. So those are ones that obviously we're looking at doing, but I want to really get community involvement in there. Traffic. I think there's definitely some work to be done on traffic in town. And getting, when we say the awareness piece, but getting just the visibility, being out on the road, being around. We're coming out of a time, the last 2 years, where you weren't supposed to, pull vehicles over. Lots of times you weren't supposed to pull vehicles over. You weren't supposed to be going to events. There wasn't events. You weren't dealing with people. You're trying not to deal with people. And so we really need to come out of that now, with COVID not being over, but it's, we're moving forward right now, and getting to those events. We had, we were in the CFest parade on Saturday. We had a lot of members out and around for that. We were involved had members out at Salmon Fest the previous weekend, looking at different community events we can be involved with. And I've for myself, I've been following the WhatsApp Prince Rupert things and just seeing what we could go to. And I'm usually just taking my family on my own, but then getting the members who are working, let's get out there and not make it look like it's a foot patrol. Sit down and enjoy it, right? Be part of it. And then, like I said, the add-ons of traffic enforcement, which we'll really look at as the year goes on here, and then some localized Indigenous education. And then, like I said, moving forward, looking at the involvement and involving the city and everyone in the establishment for next year, as we look at some bigger crime reduction strategies, prolific offender management type things like that. Other than that, that's kind of, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Is this on? Yeah. I'm certain that there's some questions going to be coming here, so I'm going to open it up to council for some questions, and take it easy on him. He's just starting. Go ahead, Nick.
I always take it easy on people. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
As long-time watchers of council will know that I've been an enthusiastic supporter of a regular dialogue between our services, not just RCMP, but our front-of-line services and the city to establish those connections, and to provide us with information on how best to do what we do in the interest of the community. So I'm really glad you're here. I'm looking forward to it being a relatively regular interaction with us. I do have three questions that I kind of thought that I would ask, ranging from quite specific to a more general. So I'll start with a specific one. Before COVID happened, I remember that I was a part of an initiative that was actually, I think, brought to us from the RCMP at the time. It's an amalgamation of social services and health services and police services and the municipality in an initiative called Situation Tables. It's a provincial program, my understanding. It's a provincial program. It is up and running in some communities. And then COVID happened and everything, as you say, everything kind of stopped. So I remember thinking it was a really constructive and progressive way of recognizing that although somebody with a problem may be noticed by the RCMP first, the RCMP are not necessarily the ones that have an answer to their problem. It may be a mental health issue, it may be a homelessness issue, it may be a physical health issue. And the situation tables was intended to be a forum in which those services could pool their resources to provide solutions for people that are the best fit for that person's problems. So I saw it as a really progressive thing. So my first question and I've got two more after this, is where does that initiative stand now that we're, as you say, gradually getting back to normal?
Yeah, it's brought to my attention. I don't know exactly how they work, and that's I actually have a meeting tomorrow, emergency services meeting at the hospital at 2 o'clock. It's just where I'll kind of start to find out a little bit more about that and look at how we do that, because I think that is very important. There are a number of issues that really aren't an enforcement issue, and they come down to, like you say, mental health, the social chronic issues, that sort of thing. Then we can see where that's best addressed. So definitely I need to find out a little bit more about it. However, that's kind of starting tomorrow, because there's the first emergency services meeting back at the hospital tomorrow afternoon. So I'd say that next time we meet, I'll probably have a better, I would hope that we're either starting to do those again by that point or very close to it.
Yeah, I expected that it would be, you're sort of exploring these kinds of detailed things for sure. So that's completely understandable. The second question is, I'm not sure that we could really, in the current, in the community in which we live, with the discourse about this second subject that exists out there, I'm not sure we get away with not asking about it, so I'm going to ask about it. And that is, what information can you share, and I know you can't share everything, about the role that the RCMP is playing in addressing the current community concern around cannabis grow-ops, legal and otherwise. And I guess I think raising these issues helps us bring clarity in a subject that there's a lot of talk, and it's not always very clear talk. So I'm interested in what you can share about that particular issue.
Okay. So I know legal, there's only certain things that can be done. I know that we've been in speaking with some aspects of the city. There's talk of looking at bylaws and that sort of thing that would go towards that. We definitely work with the city to look at that. I've been involved in different other cities where we've done that, where there's electrical building inspectors, all that sort of thing, that come in as a team, take a look at these, and make sure that they're up to code, make sure that we're not going to have or hopefully not have the issues of fires, etc. Right? And if they're not legal, then that's something that we would have to look to enforce under the appropriate legislation. So if we have wind of ones that are illegal, by all means we'll be looking at enforcing that. The legal ones, it's looking at ways to make it as safe as we can for the community. So that would definitely be in cooperation with the city.
And my last question is more general, and it's actually the kind of question that I think should be asked, regularly. Yep. So I'm simply asking it for the first time. What are the key issues? And you're just learning, so I appreciate that it'll be an introductory answer. What are the key issues? For example, what types of crime, mental health issues, and so on, is the detachment most challenged by in terms of executing its duties? And in those areas, what do you see as ways in which local government can help?
I think, one of the big ones would be, and I know we receive a lot of complaints about the intoxicated persons around town, whether it be at Five Corners or in the downtown core area here. That's a big one because it's whose issue is that, right? And it's kind of everybody's. You can move them along, and then it's on to the next one, and somebody else complains about that. So there's a lot of social services involved in that, as far as how can we try to address those bigger issues, because is the solution putting them in jail for 10 hours repeatedly daily? Many would argue no, some would argue yes. So that, when you get into mental health, other ones like that, we can get tied up at the hospital for time frames of, the hospital has one secure room there. So it does seem to be that there is a lot of mental health issues in town, and we do end up taking probably more people there than, say, an average detachment elsewhere. So we can get tied up there for a fair bit of time. So it'd be looking at things at the hospital of, is there, and that's going to be me talking to the hospital, I guess, first off, and seeing this, but is there the way to get, a second room? Is there, are we getting the people that we're taking there, are they getting the care that we need them to get, so that we're not dealing with them again, or repeatedly, right? So those would be two big ones. And, we're going to have to, part of this will be discussed at the emergency service meeting tomorrow, where I start to figure out these and how we're equipped to address these in town, and then look and see if there's other ways that we can, other options that we can look at.
Once again, I think that sort of circles back to the notion of the situation tables and ways to pool the resources. So once again, I've taken up enough time, but thanks very much for coming. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that this is an occasion that we should be able to repeat in the future as well,
For sure.
as we keep each other updated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Nish and then Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, and welcome to Prince Rupert. I guess really the one thing that I will bring up, because it's been brought up lots to me, is what will the detachment do about downtown? The people milling about, basically. There was a point in time where we've always had homeless people, and every town has homeless people, and I understand that some people have legitimate problems that need other resources to take care of, but I find now there's kind of a group of younger people that are more turning it into a downtown party, and I'm I've received quite a few complaints of business owners that are having to wash out their entranceways, or deal with urination in their doorways of their buildings, and so I find it's actually been worse since COVID. And I do realize this is not just a Rupert problem, this is everywhere, but since COVID, all of a sudden there was a lot more money available to people to do more partying and more and to do a little bit more what they wanted to do. So my question to you is, what are you guys going to do to maybe bring it back down to a more tolerable level, like when you drive down Five Corners in the middle of the day and it's open public drinking while suntanning against the barricades. And to me, I get it, they have problems, and but when it's everyone's, that's the first thing they see, and they come off the ferry, or to me that's not what people in our community, most people, want to see. They don't want to see, if a business owner builds a business with a roof over the front door, well, now it becomes a place where it's dry to hang out.
Right.
So, and there was a comment made before when we were starting our we call it Eat Street, our little food truck area there. And it's like, don't put benches in there because then they'll sit there, you know, and to me, that's not the right answer. We should be able to have benches there because we should encourage people to sit there. And if there's somebody sitting there doing something that they shouldn't be doing, then, you know, my question is, what are you guys going to do about that? So, I know you're not going to have all the answers today on that, but
For sure, and I mean, I know today I had gone for a drive. I was coming back and came down the hill, and I couldn't tell you the name of the road, but
Borden Street.
down towards the towards the Four Corners there, and you know, there was 5 people sitting there on somebody's stairs that would like lead up to their house, and I in drinking a beer, and I pulled over and I said, like, what are you doing here? Is this any of your houses? No. Okay, well then you don't need to be here. And it moved them along on their way, and it was actually nice because there was a lady in the front window of the house next door who kind of came and did one of these and a clap and that sort of thing. So I think coming with that is the visibility part that I talked about. Is I want to get everybody on the road, including, you know, myself. I've been trying to, if I come to meetings or go downtown to do something, I try to walk there, right? If you see somebody doing these things that we're speaking about, you know, whether it's okay, let's go, get out of here, or it's calling up one of my members and saying, come pick them up. I have, if somebody's doing something that they deserve to go to our cells for, I have absolutely no problem with doing that, and I encourage that. If there are ways for us to avoid that, that's great, but there's no hesitancy on my part. And that's, you know, filtering that down and getting everybody out on the road and being out and around. I think that visibility part is huge. It discourages and at the same time encourages, right? It discourages those types of activities and encourages people to come back out. I would say foot patrols, everybody loves a foot patrol because they see the police and it makes them feel safer. So yeah, there's gonna be some things that over time we're gonna look at and you know, adjust to the situation here, because like you say, I am learning it, but I've had, you know, my background is very across the board. You know, downtown enforcement in Prince George where I first started. That's what I did for 2 years, and then I've worked through the north, Yukon, Nunavut, all that. So I've dealt with, I've been exposed to these problems in most places that I've been, with the exception of my last. Lake Louise doesn't have much of that, but definitely it's a visibility thing, and then we deal with the issues as they come up. And when it's seen that they're dealt with swiftly, then we'll get some traction with that, I think.
Very. Councilor Cunningham.
Well, first and foremost, welcome to Prince Rupert,
Thank you.
and thanks for bringing another member.
That's right. Yeah.
Not
no,
you
it's-
had much choice.
No, we're
But,
excited. When it came up, I actually, it was funny because I said to my wife, should I apply for that job in Prince Rupert? She said, I'd go there. I'm like, really? And I said, yes. How am I I'm just hearing this for the first time, because I've always wanted to come here. So
Yeah.
we're quite happy to be here.
Yeah, without repeating what's been said already by Councillor Neese, I've had a lot of complaints about open drinking and things like that, so I'm glad to see you're going to be trying to tackle it.
Yeah.
It's a problem that, and especially summer coming, it's going to get worse instead of better. Another thing is, now that you've got a full complement of officers, are you going to be resurrecting the community liaison officer with the schools and things like that?
We're looking at that actually. It's trying to figure out some stuff right now, but it is definitely something that I think would be a benefit to hear.
Yeah, I know once it was sort of dropped because the complement of officers was shrinking and that, and people
Yeah.
were off and things like that. It was one of the positions that was eliminated right away. I'm also happy to hear you're looking at traffic. It's a complaint a lot of people have in this town about the traffic and lack of control. I know terrace traffic comes here once in a while, but I'd like to see him here more often. That and, you know, I'd like to see open communication between council and CRCMP. It's now that we got an OIC in place, I think it'll improve considerably.
For sure.
And if we can help you in any way, it'd be great.
Okay.
And like I'd mentioned earlier, you know, another complaint I get is unlicensed vehicles or vehicles sitting with flat tires by the curb and that. And you know, I've often wondered if it was actually a motor traffic or a bylaw infraction, but you know, it's something that I guess will get worked out eventually.
Yeah, it can be both. It definitely, you know, a motor vehicle on a roadway that's uninsured is an issue, right? So that's something that can be tackled by both. When it gets into the ones in yards near the curb, that sort of thing, then that becomes more of a bylaw issue for sure.
Okay, well, thanks very much, and thanks for coming.
Thanks.
And I've been on council 1 year longer than council here, and when I first came on, we used to get a monthly report of statistics and that. Is that something that can be done again?
Yeah, it's, if that's something that council would like, we can organize that.
Because it was one thing when it was reported to council, it was usually reported in the paper too, so it just gave the community an idea, and it also shows that you guys are out there doing your job.
Yeah, for sure.
Any further? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so every already issue brought up. So you already said like you're already on that traffic, crime, and mental health. So you already said that. So yeah, thanks for coming, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Welcome back here. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to getting to know you more, and I'm sure we're going to be getting some, like Nick said, the situation table. I think that's a great thing for us to stay coordinated and get collective solutions to a collective problem. So,
For
welcome to town, and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
You have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, next we have report 5A. Recommendation that council receive and file the development activity report for May 2022. Moved by Councillor 80, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. Any discussion?
I'm curious about, I don't want to pick any out in particular. I'm curious about some of the ones where they're on hold pending, you know, information from the owners or whatever, and they've been on hold for some time. So I guess my question is there kind of a statute of limitations where at some point we say, well, it's been on hold now for almost a year, what's next? And I think if people want to examine the list specifically, they can see that there's several kind of in that situation. So what's the mechanism there?
I think Mr. Buchan will answer that. It's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That would be regulated, if it is regulated, by our development procedures bylaw. And I will take a look at that with staff and see if there is a regulation and then advise council. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure that we do have that. If council wants to have a provision in that, and a lot of places do, they basically say if there's inactive for X number of months, you apply again, that can be done. But we'll circle back and let council know.
You have to come and put the mic on, and you're going to be coming up here anyway, so might as well do it now.
I can just speak to that through the mayor. It's a 6-month limitation. So if there's no activity for 6 months and that's no communication from the client at all, then we will discard the file.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have another report from planning regarding DVP 2213 for 1425 2nd Avenue West.
Yes, this report is for a development variance permit, and the recommendation is that council proceed with statutory notification. For DVP 2213. This is a request for the City of Prince Rupert zoning bylaw section 5.2.6c to have a 1.22 meter setback from the rear property line to account for a back deck encroachment. The required setback from the rear property line is 3 meters. The proposed deck would be 3 meters or 3.05 meters by 5.79 meters, and the applicant rationalized this proposed variance due to the irregular shape of the property and an existing encroachment of the house. There are no known negative impacts to the surrounding neighborhood or viewscape, nor any cost to the city. However, the public will have the opportunity to provide provide input upon public notification.
Okay, so the recommendation is that council proceed with the statutory notification process for DVP application 2213. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Anish. Discussion? All's in favor? Oh,
I was going to say, I went and looked at it today, and I don't see any impact, whether it's going to block traffic view on the corner or anything. I think it's going to be an easy one.
okay. All is in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, DVP 2210 for 108 Prince Rupert Boulevard.
DVP 2210 is a request for a variance of the City of Prince Rupert zoning bylaw section 526A to have a 3.048 meter setback from the front property line in relation to an extension of an existing deck. So the deck will be extending 2 feet into the existing front setback. The required setback for front property line in the R2 zone is 3.6 meters, and they will be extending their deck 2 feet in front. The applicant rationalized the proposed variance to the front property line setback to enable them to make better use of their front deck. So, for example, fit a set of table and chairs. There are no known impacts to the surrounding neighborhood and no cost to the city, and the recommendation is to proceed to statutory notification.
Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. Discussion?
I noticed when I looked at this today, the deck's already torn off.
Oh.
So it was just kind of strange.
Was not aware of that. But
You're allowed to do that, right?
Yeah, you can tear the deck
Yep.
down. You just can't rebuild it until you get permission.
Okay. All is in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next, we have a report from our Chief Financial Officer regarding the April 2022 financial variance report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The operating and utility revenues and expenses are currently on target despite inflationary pressures. Actual impacts will be better reflected in future reports as we proceed through the year. The increase in oil and fuel prices will likely negatively affect the city's operating results across the board as the year goes on. Additionally, current actual expenses reflect 2021 wage rates and will change depending on the result of upcoming contract negotiations. The capital and special projects programs for the year have just begun, with certain ones in finalization. The Woodworth Lake Dam is finalizing while the landfill cell is in the permitting stage. Work continues on the CN station, and design is in progress for the RCMP building. As mentioned above, increases in oil will have impacts on the city's paving program and will likely result in less linear paving. Extremely poor condition areas are the focus given the current limitations. And this concludes my report.
Thank you. Recommendation that council receive and file the April 2022 financial variance report. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have another report from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2021 Statement of Financial Information.
Thank you again. The Financial Information Act requires municipalities to prepare a document called Statement of Financial Information, which must be approved by council before June 30th. This document provides additional information beyond that provided in the annual audited financial statements. The document includes schedules with the names of vendors paid more than $25,000, employees with remuneration and expense in excess of $75,000, and remuneration and expenses paid on behalf of elected officials. Council is asked to approve the 2021 Statement of Financial Information, thereby fulfilling the requirements of the Financial Information Act.
So recommendation that council by resolution approve the 2021 Statement of Financial Information. Sophie, moved by Councillor 80, second by Councillor Randhawa. Discussion?
I noticed, Corinne, that Yellowhead paving and marking is only 58,000. Was that the total amount for the year? Seems awfully low.
Yep, that would have been what was paid for the year this past year. Remember the weather and possibly there was a number of issues last year. They couldn't get to a lot of places throughout the north.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have a report from our corporate administrator, council resolution status. Anything to report? Nothing to report? Okay. Recommendation that council receive and file the council resolution status updates for April and May 2022. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. Oh, all in favor? Okay, motion's carried. Next, another report from our corporate administrator, the North Coast Mountain Bike Association pump trek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is subsequent to a previous conversation and resolution brought before council. So we have reviewed the documentation with the society, and they have executed the lease or the license to occupy. Sorry. So we're just looking for a council resolution now to direct staff to execute the document and then provide the public notification, and then they can proceed.
Excellent. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. Just one question that I had was there was when we announced this back in December, there were some questions about emergency vehicle access on the Shearbrook side of things, and potentially having access for like paramedics to be able to get down there. I don't know if maybe Richard or Rob have that information or not, but is that discussion still happening, or? Because the challenge was that you would put in this bike pump or the bike track kind of away from any roadways, and if there was an injury or something happens there, the only real access to that is Shearbrook. And I know we have like a truck path right now for our city trucks to get down, but that was, I would say, a primary concern from folks around that area. Do you know any more, Mr. Buchan, about that?
I do not. Maybe Mr. Pucci does.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Buchan. Yeah, so the primary access right now is either by foot, or we have the opportunity to have a pickup truck access through the Sherbrook entrance. We have not contemplated any additional access at this time. However, we can look at it if council is interested for us to look at it. But there is access to get people down there quickly through the end of Sherbrook.
I think my
now
primary.
getting a.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Mr. Pucci. I think the primary concern is that can a vehicle get down there from that area, and I guess the answer is yes to that.
Yes, a vehicle can get down there. Yes.
Okay. Then I think that's the most important thing, is that there's an ability to get down there by vehicle. Councillor 80.
Just to add to that, I note on the analysis portion of the report, it does say that the operations department has also requested that they include upgraded paved access to the track to tackle accessibility constraints and increase lighting for safety. So it may be that somewhere in there there's a way to kill a couple of birds with one stone.
Right. Councillor Cunningham.
The walk path, because that's fairly well used, is there going to be a fence between the pump track and the walk path, or could there be spillage over or stuff like that? It's just, could be a bit of a safety concern, that's all. I think it's a great idea, and I'm happy to see it happening. It gives a lot of kids a place to go in that, but I'm just a little concerned about that gravel walk path right next to the creek.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure they have the final designs on that, but we can chat with them about that for sure. Any other questions? Okay, well, this is a good news item. This will be a great new recreation opportunity for the community. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have from a notice of motion from May 30th. So the recommendation that council direct staff to send the original petition presented at the May 30th, 2022 meeting to the Minister of Health, along with copies of the same to be provided to other respective provincial representatives, along with the letter of support. So this was from the petition that was presented last meeting around the healthcare issues here in community, and community residents petitioning that we want certain services to stay in Prince Rupert, and that we needed send this off directly to the Minister of Health, Adrian Dix. So, anyone want to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Adie. Discussion.
You know, some people are nervous about this petition and that, and it's, to me, it's a grassroots petition that showing the Minister of Health as well as Northern Health that the people of Prince Rupert are concerned about losing services. Over the last 15, 20 years, there's been a lot of services either degraded or lost totally in our hospital, little by little. And now with the Mills Memorial Trauma 3 Hospital being built, I think a lot of people are a little nervous. Northern Health has made some commitments and then they've changed them and things like that. So I think we have to get some definite answers from the Minister of Health as well as Northern Health about exactly what's going to happen. We have the regional hospital for the North Coast. You know, the other hospital is 150 kilometers inland. It's difficult to get there certain times of the year and things like that. So this is a concern of the residents of Prince Rupert, and it's a very grassroots. Margaret Lorette started it. It was nothing to do with this, although I encouraged it and that. But I really think it's important we get the message across that the people of Prince Rupert definitely need medical facilities of a good quality to service the whole region. And with the growing demand on our industrial base and that, some of our industrial partners are also nervous about diminishing services. So it's something we've got to let Victoria know that we're serious about.
Other comments? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next up, item 6A is the for the election. So recommendation that council repeal election voting procedure and automated vote counting system authorization bylaw number 3428/2018, and that council give first, second, and third readings to the City of Prince Rupert elections voting procedure and automated vote counting system authorization bylaw number 3496/2022. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. Discussion.
I'm just curious, is there anything different about this package and this process that's new for us, or is it kind of a boilerplate thing that is done the same way every year, or every time? And then I'm you know, I don't know that I need the answer tonight, but I'm curious about it. So
I can speak to that as is outlined in the report to council attached to this RTC. The existing bylaw refers to a specific date for the second required advanced voting opportunity. And so this new bylaw has been updated to reflect the day in more general terms and is now referenced as the third day before general voting day. This bylaw actually includes now a number of nominators to be moved from are upped from 2 to 10. It also allows for the local government to charge a refundable nomination deposit, which is all authorized under the Local Government Act for populations over 5,000. And this nomination deposit of $100 to be collected and returned in accordance with the Act. So again, it's a refundable nomination deposit. Both this nomination deposit and the number of nominators increased from 2 to 10 have been included in the bylaw to encourage sincere consideration into the decision to run for office. And finally, the pandemic caused the provincial government to change the Local Government Act in 2021, thereby removing restrictions on mail ballot voting. Seeing as the pandemic has not ended and recognizing that many may still not feel comfortable in a public setting, the provisions for mail ballot voting have been inserted into the bylaw.
I think that answers all your questions appropriately, eh?
thank you. I'm very impressed. I'm appreciative that there's a lot of North American public focus on the elections process. I just want to make sure we do it right.
Thank you, Ms. Bauman. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, moving on to reports, questions, or inquiries from members of council. Sorry.
Okay, just a couple of things. I noticed on McBride they're going farther and farther up the road, so I'm assuming they're just getting rid of all the old pipe there. I don't know if Richard could answer this or not, and how much. I know they did a lot of work up at 8th and McBride and 7th and McBride, so I'm assuming now that just about all McBride, other than the north side of 3rd Avenue, is pretty well all replaced now, but Richard can maybe answer that. I got a couple of other comments too.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor. So yes, we are replacing the entire run of 102-year-old pipe. We're going up into the intersection on 5th, all the way down to the intersection of 3rd. There's valving on both sides, so we will be tying into good pipe on the top of 5th. We want to make sure that we don't fix this problem and cause another one immediately after that could put us in the same situation. So we will be replacing the entire run on the hill. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the people will appreciate that. While you're here, Richard, the other thing is I brought it up around 6 months ago, but I'm just happened to go down the Coast Guard base for the first time in quite a while, and I noticed the slippage on the road there is getting a little bit worse. It's there's quite a crack there, and I'm a little concerned because if that part, I know you said you were monitoring it, but it's slipped down at least another 6 inches or something, and if that road were ever to slip away, we'd have no access to quite a chunk of our emergency services at the Coast Guard, as well as the helicopter medevac and things like that. So I just bringing it to your attention.
Thank you, Councillor. We do monitor that road from down below. I'll make sure my team has another look at it. It's on our list that we look at. I'm not sure if it's every couple months but we do have sort of a list that we go to these areas to ensure there isn't more slippage, but we will take a look at it. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And just the last thing, June 22nd, SPCA has got a fundraiser where they're locking people up for an hour and getting donations, so I've agreed to be locked up with some...
Only for an hour?
I hope so. But
and you have to wear a dog costume?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if I get donations or not.
On the
They're still going to
23rd.
let me out.
Got it.
But I've been guaranteed that all the money raised will be staying at RSPCA in Prince Rupert, not going south like some of their other fundraisers. And so I'm putting out a challenge there to particularly the councillors, but any other citizens. I'm going to donate $100, and I'd like to see people match it, beat it, or even $10, whatever. I think it's for a good cause. It's something that flies under the radar when it comes to fundraising and that. So it's just something that I think would be. I'm even looking.
Can we pay to keep you in there for a while?
Yeah,
like
well,
the more money you donate, the
I'll
more you
dress up
stay
like
in there?
a dog. You can dress up like a cat, and I'll
I
chase
got
you
3
around
cats,
the cell.
actually. I'll bring them. They could be in the cage with you.
Yeah, well, if people donate enough money, I'll stay longer.
Hey, you heard it here?
But I get out at supper time.
Fair enough. Thank you. Other comments or inquiries from council? Go ahead.
I'd just like to recognize that we had Seafest for the first time in 3 years, I guess. It was brilliant to see 3rd Avenue come to life. And I'm hoping that we don't face historical circumstances that stop the momentum from continuing going forward from here. So, and also the high school grad. So I think that because of the accident of the 2 events coinciding, we had the best dressed Seafest in history.
Councillor Niche.
I'll just add to the Seafest conversation. Many may notice that this year there was no waterfront events and a quiet Sunday, and I would just like people to maybe think about volunteering next year, or think about putting together some sort of event, and maybe that will help start building Seafest back up to what it used to be like in the 80s. And I mean, it's understandable this year, first year out of COVID, it probably wasn't expected to be as big as usual. But for everyone out there that wants to see more, then put in some effort and help volunteer for next year, and maybe we'll get it back to the way it used to be.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. I had people come up and complain about a one-day Seafest, but it was lack of volunteers that curtailed it to one day. I volunteered to help with the parade as the mayor did years before, and I'd like to say kudos to the people that did volunteer. It was a short notice thing, and they couldn't get the highway and things like that on short notice. And I'd like to recognize Betty Weir, who's done the parade for many years and did an excellent job on that short notice. It's again, there was even short volunteers down at that part, but it all worked out. Everyone stepped up to the plate that did volunteer, and it worked out quite good.
Anything else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn and reconvene our recessed in camera. Moved by Councillor 80, seconded by Councillor Randhawa. All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned.